Welcome back. Today, we're going to do a little bit of a follow-up to the idea of managing expectations of others and how you respond to others, especially at work. I'm Keith.
My name is Rodney, and this is the Daily Chronicle. This is where we chronicle all the things, the tasks, and the stuff that we're going through on a daily basis for ourselves, but more importantly for our daughters, so they have a log should they choose to view it when they get older, and to build a community. So,
and welcome to our podcast setup.
Yeah,
this is what it looks like when we record a podcast.
Yeah, we're not recording on the old phone like normal.
Happen to use this opportunity to just because we had to test out some things.
Welcome to the studio.
Upcoming interview. Yeah.
What you got?
You had an awesome example the other day about when people get in your way. And pardon this, the lighting. Rodney yells at me all the time. The other day when you managed that series of engagements, and since this is a chronicle and a log for our daughters, again, I wanted to revisit this because this morning I got a few emails from people I hadn't talked to, and it wasn't terribly long, but long enough, that were asking questions that were completely off base from what expectations and communication that we had set before. And I found myself like, I wasn't in a bad mood. I feel very focused today. And I just feel very direct. Like, if you're going to ask me a question, I'm going to be very direct with you today. Not that I'm not every day, but I don't feel like nicening it up at the moment.
Would you say like direct on the borderline of curt?
Yeah, maybe curt. Maybe, I'm feeling rude. It's a weird feeling. I try to manage it, navigate. Like, I certainly don't try to come off as rude, but I'm feeling it. Right. And like, you get those emails, and we get them all the time. Like, in your first reaction, I found my first reaction going, why am I answering this question? Right? I shouldn't be answering this question. And
was it a question you'd already answered, or just like
conversations we've had? Like, this is just why am I engaging? Why am I wasting my time? And I found myself like, I've never really seen myself in that moment, right? Normally it's just like, yeah, right. I feel self-righteous, like, oh yeah, no, I'm right, and I can feel good. I didn't feel good about myself. And I know those situations happen a lot. Yeah. And I had a lot of learning in that moment about managing and navigating that going forward.
Take us through it. What happened?
And how I've navigated. But I was curious to get, I'll share that first. I'm curious to get how you do this as well. I know historically, like, I will always answer politely and kindly because I like to treat people nice and kind. But it doesn't necessarily make me feel better because I feel like I want to be saying something direct and curt, like, learn your stuff, get to know it. Like, didn't you listen to me the first time?
Yeah.
And what I found myself realizing, I'm like, man, that is a selfish feeling, right? Like, how many times has someone told me something and I asked for clarity, and I asked for clarity because I just couldn't, like, I forgot, maybe it'd been a while, or, someone's an expert at something, and because they're an expert at it and you don't listen to it or talk about it but once a month, I might not know it. So I need to ask the expert. There's so much that goes into this from a like an emotional standpoint for me, and just a navigation of self-discovery.
Yeah.
But, and I realized that, and I'm like, man, when I'm in these situations, like, okay, you do the surface thing, like, just answer politely, answer kindly, and navigate. But, like, don't be so selfish. Like, don't be so selfish about it, right? Like, I found myself really, really digging deep to go, man, your emotion isn't justified. And it was a weird feeling. And I think a lot of us get
when you say you, as in
like
yourself,
me, like myself. I was not justified in that moment. And it was actually very liberating. It made me feel better to accept that, so I could actually move it, like, and not be so freaking self-righteous. Like, I was being
So you
private,
acknowledged,
but not publicly.
you acknowledged the feeling, and then you water tested it, and you're like, okay, but this isn't, it's not justified, as you just said.
Yeah.
So then you were able to just, that was your process.
That was my process. And of course, I still functionally did the same thing. Answer the question, be nice, be kind. But I felt much better about it because I took myself out of the situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't about me. Like, I made it about myself. And I think so often, historically, I've talked to so many people, right? Like, oh, can you believe it? And it's like, yep, I kind of can, right?
Yeah.
How about, like, do you, I mean, I know you've been in situations.
Yeah, it's super different for me. Like, for work, like, it's only happened one time in a work call and it was actually a customer that I had to take to task for something they said that was wildly inappropriate to a coworker of mine. I was like, this call is over. When you can get yourself together, we will have another call. Like, that's only happened one time. In general, my response in a work setting is like, I'm my highest self, I'm my best self. No matter how they respond, like, I'm gonna be smiles and kittens and rainbows, which is like partially, like, we talk about this a little bit in unlearning things. Like, that's kind of allowed people to walk over me in situations. Now, you and I have been in at least one call, probably more, where like that was happening, and you don't allow that to happen in a work setting where you're like, I'll step up and say something. Like, no, you don't get to act like that at work. And you'll say that to another person, whereas I typically will not. And that's just, there's a lot of things there, from being like the black dude to also being just like, I'm gonna turn the other cheek 17 times, like, and that's from being raised. And so that plays into it. But then on a personal side, I'm not like that. Like, I will not let you walk all over me on the personal side. So I think,
so how do you reckon, like, the emotional, like, to that point, if you get in one of those situations, like, do you just brush it over? Like, do you just say, it's work and move on? Like,
so old me, yes, would just brush it off, and I think that caused problems because that's why I was interested in your process. Like, you acknowledged it, and then you tested it. Like, I never had that. I just let it go, and then whatever I was feeling or thinking, I never even acknowledged, which was problematic. Now I in this recent situation we talked about, like, I had several outlets. I talked to Rachel, I talked to you, I talked to my boss and one of my other coworkers involved in the situation.
Channel to a more positive emotional reaction, regardless.
I mean, I think I probably shared I shared to somebody like, man, if we were in the same room right now, I don't know that I would be this calm. but it's like, so now, like, just acknowledge. I think the acknowledgement of the unhappiness is really the key, and then that allowed me to get over to the other side of saying, I see this really clearly, but that's from my point of view. What is it from his point of view in this situation that is keeping him from seeing the same thing? And then I even said to him, I say, hey, like, I'm seeing it as this, and I see this as a win for me, you, and our partner. What am I missing? Like, and then I gave him an opportunity to come back and say, no, I'm seeing that as well. I'm concerned about this. Oh, like, I didn't even think about that.
That acknowledgement, like, to your point, I mean, in those extreme scenarios, I tend to not let things slide. Especially, I mean, I've made some, but maybe career mistakes that I certainly don't consider career mistakes because they weren't personal mistakes. But that may be another topic for another day. But
no, I learned from you in that situation, and I think in general, like, no, you gotta, obviously you need to stand up for yourself. I think that's something most people.
But then it's all those other situations when you just feel slighted, even though you're not, right? Because you're making it about yourself, and that was that moment for me. Like, don't personalize it. It's not you, right? They're just seeking clarity, seeking understanding. And yes, you've explained it to them 100 times, but you know what? Explain it to them 101 and be okay with it. Just be comfortable with it, right? Like, because your day is going to get worse if you let this gnaw at you for no reason other than you have some violation of your own ego.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you got a question?
That's good. No. Are you able to like, I don't like, because it's the same question as the other day. But when you're in a situation like that, do you let it get to you, or do you move past it and act your better self at work?
Yeah, I don't. That's it.